Today, we will discuss the use of outcome data to identify, evaluate, and make decisions. By the end of this lesson, you will be able to collect and analyze outcome data to make school-wide decisions about behavioral supports. In previous lessons, we have referenced the PBIS framework for implementing school climate transformation through MTSS. Today, we will be discussing the database decision-making section of the framework. More specifically, we will discuss evaluating the effectiveness of implementation and how to use outcome data to drive the interventions and supports for students. Outcome data is used to evaluate the effectiveness of your practices, programming, and framework. Often, schools should ask, why are we doing this, and what do we want to accomplish? This will guide the outcome data that your team will want to use. When the PBIS framework is implemented with Fidelity, your outcomes will improve. First, you will see behavioral outcomes increase, but there are other positive outcomes such as academic, attendance, and social-emotional learning. The MTSS triangle reminds us that when PBIS is implemented, 80% of students should be successful with Tier 1 supports. However, when the need arises, you can use outcome data and decision rules to help identify students needing additional supports and interventions. Outcome data can help through the entire implementation process. When looking to begin a school climate transformation, the data will show you where to begin and where to focus your efforts. Behavioral outcome data will then show the level of implementation. When your discipline referrals are decreasing, you know that best practices are in place and are being implemented school-wide. Finally, going back to the why, what impact do we want for our students? Outcome data gives measurable and clear evidence that students are being impacted in a positive way. There are several types of data and several data collection systems that can be used. Behavioral data is the primary data that will be evaluated by school climate teams and is typically the first positive outcome when implementing PBIS practices. Often, schools will use internal Google Forms that teachers can submit as an office discipline referral. Another option is the Swiss Suite. It is a behavioral information system created by the National Center on PBIS and is a convenient way to collect discipline referrals, summarize data, and create automatic graphs to analyze the outcome data quickly. Finally, some schools will use their student information system and a skilled data analyst to look at behavioral data. Next, academic outcomes will improve when behavioral best practices and supports are implemented. This can be seen through improvements in grades, achievement tests, and academic screeners like those used for the Reading Sufficiency Act. Finally, attendance rates and chronic absenteeism are factors that teams may want to review, and also social-emotional data. Often, SEL curriculums have screening tools included, but you can also give the SRSS or SDQ as free social-emotional screeners. All of these data systems can be used to identify if your framework is positively impacting students. When using data to problem solve, you need to consider the data systems. To be effective, data must be valid and accurate, be on hand, and used for the decision-making process. If the data is stored in a system and can't answer these questions when needed quickly, the system is not effective. To make decisions, we must share the data. We need to share behavioral data just as we do academic data. For behavioral data, what kind of data should we collect? Direct observations, anecdotal records? But are these feasible for collecting across time and for many students? Often, school climate teams will identify decision rules to determine the effectiveness of PBIS and the school climate framework. In this example, the decision rule is a monthly discipline referral rate of 2.5 referrals per day. If there are fewer than 2.5 referrals per day, the programming is effective. If there are more than 2.5 referrals per day, the school climate team will want to begin the problem-solving process. Here is a guide to the problem-solving process. For the purpose of school-wide PBIS, we are going to focus on ODRs as one of the main sources of data that you can use to monitor the impact of your universal system. In doing so, there are 5 big questions that you can start with the problem-solving process. These 5 questions are what types of problem behaviors, when is the problem behavior occurring most frequently, where are these problems happening, who is contributing, and why is the behavior problem occurring. ODRs can be used systematically and can answer a variety of questions. But first, we must answer, is there a problem? We're going to look at an example of some school outcome data that one individual school used. When we look at this graph, we need to start by saying, does a problem exist? Yes, there is a problem because our rate of major referrals is increasing. Now, let's begin answering the big 5. What? According to this data, aggression and defiance are the primary behavior problems being documented. Next, we should look at where the defiant and aggressive behavior is happening. A majority of these behaviors are occurring in the classroom and on the playground. Who? This data shows that all grades except pre-K and first have a high number of referrals. Most grades are experiencing behavior problems. And next we will look at why. Finally, there is not enough information to determine motivation. The why is unknown. Most discipline referrals do not have a perceived motivation category. However, having this information can be very important in selecting a solution strategy. Understanding behavior motivations is valuable, and more information on this topic can be found in the dysregulation section of this module. Now that we have answered our big 5 questions, it's time to create a problem statement and create a SMART goal. Writing the goal in the form of a SMART goal helps the team to define it in a way that short and long-term outcomes can be observed, allowing the team to monitor progress and evaluate whether their goal has been achieved. The SMART goal may be that all grades will decrease major ODRs from 32 to 25 between November 1st and December 1st as measured by the ODR report for December. This is a specific and easily measured goal. 25 was the number of referrals in the first 2 months, so it is achievable and relevant. And there is a goal date for the completion of the goal. Located within the resources of this section, you will find a copy of the Solution Strategy Guide. This guide includes several strategies that your team can use to create action steps to achieve your goal. For the playground, students may be physically aggressive over playground equipment or during activities. Explicitly teaching or reteaching the expectations and playground procedures may help reduce some of the arguments over equipment. Also, Prevention may be useful here as well. If there is one soccer ball and a large number of students wanting to play soccer, getting an additional ball and starting 2 smaller games may prevent problems. Other strategies are prompting, rewards, correction, extinction, adaptation, and safety. There are examples of each strategy and questions to guide your action planning. Finally, after creating a goal and implementing solution strategies, your team will want to reassess the outcome data. Did you meet your goal? If yes, celebrate the success and identify a new problem. If no, go back to the Big Five and begin the problem-solving process again. Trying new solution strategies or adding to existing strategies may be enough to boost your outcomes. School-wide and group outcome data and problem solving is the focus of Tier 1. However, there will be a need for decision rules for individual students. Often, using school discipline data can help a team identify students needing additional supports. Here is an example of one team's decision rule for students. More than 2 major referrals in 2 months, or more than 6 minor referrals in 2 months. If a student has less than this, the team knows that Tier 1 supports are effective for this student. If the student exceeds the referral amount, the team will begin looking at additional supports and interventions that the student may need. They will receive these Tier 2 supports in addition to their Tier 1 supports. Here is an example of an individual student's outcome data. Daredevil has 10 minor ODRs and meets the decision rule for needing additional supports and interventions. One thing to note about individual student decisions and decision roles. There's a lot of research that shows half of the students that receive 6 or more discipline referrals during a year receive 2 of those referrals by the end of October. This has been referred to as the October catch. Many schools use October as their first month to look at individual student data and catch those students needing additional supports early in the year. This data helps prevent larger or more chronic problem behaviors throughout the course of the year and can help keep students connected and engaged. Finally, if a student is identified and provided additional supports, use the precise problem statement, SMART goals, and solution strategies for each individual student. Structuring the supports around the individual needs of the student will help achieve greater outcomes for that student. Individual progress monitoring will help show progress and growth, as well as help you identify if the student needs additional or different Tier 2 supports and interventions. When moving forward, begin by looking at the goals of your school climate team and deciding what data you want to collect. Then, select a data collection system that will help your team make decisions for groups and individual students quickly and easily. Outcome data is important because it measures the effectiveness of your programming. Some outcome data will be impacted quickly, and some may take a little longer. But remember, when you are effectively implementing PBIS with Fidelity, your outcome data will be impacted. Don't forget to look for the resources below.